is some of your best advice for graduates?
I think I would start with the whole issue of identifying your values. Know what those 3 or 4 values are that are going to guide this chapter of your life. I think there's too many people in our country today who have embraced the value or the notion of success by any means necessary. And so this means that I don't think people really start out to be intentionally dishonest. But there's one ethical breach, and that sort of leads to another, and now they're on a slippery slope and spiraling downward into the disasters that we have witnessed in our economy today. So I would really encourage graduates to think and reflect on what are those 3 or 4 values that are very important to them, and then have the courage to live by those values. Because as somebody I heard say the other day, it's better to have a fence at the top of the mountain than a shovel at the bottom of the valley. And those values act as that fence. So I do believe that it's important that everyone, but particularly young people who are starting out, to recognize what their values are and then use those values as a filter through which they use or run through all the major decisions in their lives. So that would be the first piece of advice. The second thing I would say is develop a mentoring relationship. I've interviewed a fairly significant number of successful people. And the one thing that most of them cite that contributed to their success is having a great mentor. And so I don't believe it's ever too early to start good mentoring relationships. And a mentor for a young person would be somebody who is in the young person's chosen industry or chosen profession. Somebody who has had some level of success within their job or their industry. And to be able just to sit down with this person and talk to them, invite them for coffee, buy them lunch, and then go there very strategically to ask questions about what is the industry like, what is their job like, what do they love most about the job, what do they not like about the job, what are the challenges of the job. Now, in a mentoring relationship, it needs to be real clear that this is not an opportunity to be seeking a job. So you don't go armed with your resume, you don't go with your list of references. On the other hand, I think it would be appropriate that you could share with this mentor your job-seeking strategy and get the mentor's input on how that strategy might be improved. And I think it might also be appropriate to ask a mentor, are there any other people in the industry who might be willing to share their career journeys, so that at an early place in the career you begin to see people who are successful, understand what their career journeys are, and understand the good, the bad, and the ugly about the profession that one has chosen. So to develop a good mentoring relationship would be the second piece of advice that I would strongly recommend. Next, I would suggest to find a strategy to manage stress. So looking for a job in a good economy can be stressful, but today it is incredibly challenging. And so I would suggest that young people take a real careful observation of how their body reacts to stress, what are the triggers to stress, and then to find some activities that release that stress. When they were in college, it might have been alcohol and caffeine and drugs that sort of got them through the night and got them through the next test. But now that they're out in the working world, it's really important to stay at the top of your game, both physically and mentally. And so you really have to be able to manage that stress. So rigorous exercise is a great way of releasing stress, but people have got to find out what works for them, and then to be intentional and disciplined about engaging in that activity so that day to day they're able to manage that stress. Because stress can really have an emotionally and physically debilitating effect, and you can't afford to be any less than your best when you're out searching for a job. Number 4, I would suggest that to volunteer your skills. So as college graduates are looking for a job, that by definition is a very egocentric experience. You are out trying to convince potential employees about how wonderful you are, how well educated you are, how skilled you are, what a hard worker you will be. So it's very egocentric. So to be able to take the skills that you have acquired, because you are a person of privilege, having had a great education and many opportunities, to take those skills that you have acquired and volunteer them, sharing them with somebody who has less privilege. I think in the first place that gives you a way of looking at the world through a different lens. And when you can look at the world through somebody else's eyes, it helps you see your own situation in a different perspective. And then by volunteering, you enrich the community and you enrich your own life.
Definitely.
And I think finally, it's really important to believe in yourself. And to borrow from a notion that Regina Brett has in her recently published book, God Never Blinks, she says something like, no matter how good or how bad a situation is, remember it will change. And as I reflected on it, there are very few things in this world today that remain static. So young people have got to believe in themselves and have the faith to know that in their lifetimes right now, that the best is yet to come, and have faith in that notion.
And I find that no matter what year I'm speaking and no matter what college I'm speaking to, and I end up narrowing it down to a couple of things. I talk about what my mom always said, don't marry him until you see how he treats the waitress. Because what that really means, of course, is how a person treats those people we're allowed to mistreat is the measure of who he or she is, really. And so and I think that's a great guideline, not just for marriage or dating, but for friendships, who you trust in the world, and most importantly, who you want to be in the world. Because, everybody wants to make a difference in the world, but they think they have to do this giant thing to make a difference, and it really isn't like that. I don't think at all. I think if you are an activist for kindness, you can change the world, whatever little patch of the world you navigate. And the other thing I like to talk about a lot, because it's two quotes from a poem, or it's actually a quote from the poet, Lucille Clifton, who died earlier this year. What they call you is one thing, what you answer to is something else. And I think that resonates. I come from the working class, and being a woman also, as a woman, right? We already know that I'm a woman. It's just, people will make assumptions about you, but you will decide what you answer to. And that can make all the difference.
That's pretty profound. That's something that, you could spend a lot of time thinking about that point right there.
Yeah, right. Which is why those two lines are taped to both my desktop computers, and they've been there for years and years and years. I don't have any intention of taking them down.
Well, the piece of advice that I would have is something that I heard not long ago from Jim Tressel, actually, the football coach at Ohio State University, who talked about being a winner. And he said, you already have everything that you need to be a winner. You first start with who you are, your values. Know who you are, and then think about what you're going to do. It's a two-part program. Winning is about you and about what you do. And those two things really stuck with me because most people think it's what you do. But it really is you. You are the winner. You're already a winner. And that graduation just simply means it's taking you to the next level of what you will do. But you're already there. You're a winner.
I think the best thing to do is stick your resume in your briefcase under your arm. I know there's a lot of online applying for jobs, but I still think that if you can get that face-to-face interview with the employer, I think that can separate you from the masses, from the rest of the other people. But they need to see you in the flesh and hear your voice and see how you're put together. I think all of that really, really helps. And I think you have to make sure that if you're without a job, your job is 8 hours a day looking for work. That should be your new job, looking for work.
What is your best advice for a new grad?
Lee, I have 4 pieces of advice. The first one is most important. It is live below your means and pay yourself first. What do I mean by that? Is financial stress is the leading cause of stress, the leading cause of aging, the leading cause of marriage breakups, the leading cause of dissatisfaction with life. The key thing is no matter what you're earning, take the first 10% of it, put it in an emergency fund. It allows you to tell the employer you're working with goodbye so that you have it after a while so you can find number 4, which is also a very important thing. So I'll come back to number 4 when I get through 2 and 3. 2 is keep your friends. So friends are very important in connections, but also in relieving stress and that continuity of life and that thankfulness. And thank them. So no one writes thank you emails. One of the great things is write 3 thank you notes every day. Friends are great to thank. Teachers are great to thank. Third is value yourself, which is remember your well-being, your health is important. It isn't that you should do everything for everybody else, put your exercise program, even put your flossing on hold because you don't have those 2 minutes to do it, right? Value yourself, treat yourself to the right foods. Remember, food is not let's make a deal. Food is an absolute. Those fruits and vegetables are important. Your mom was right. And the fourth is find a passion in life you love to do, because then it's never work. I can't believe I'm lucky enough to work here and work with a wonderful boss, a great team, and every day is a joy. There's too much, as you know, for me, there's too much to do every day, but that it's all fun, it's all wonderful. So find a passion in life and do it. And remember, if you pay yourself first, that first thing, take the first 10% of every paycheck and put it away for an emergency. If you end up with a boss you don't like, a situation you don't like, and you need to change, you'll have the wherewithal and the safety to do it so that you can find a passion in life and follow it.
The passion is more important than the paycheck.
Passion is most important, but if you don't have the paycheck so you can survive, it's hard to do it as you're raising family, bringing up kids, etc.
Right. Excellent. All right, I have one other topic to ask you about, and we are collecting comments from people for Father's Day and asking how your father most influenced you.
My father had a couple of phrases that I've passed on to both my son and daughter, our son and daughter. That is, one was the word can't is a 4-letter word. It doesn't exist in our home. So, and the second thing was anything worth doing is worth doing well. So if you're going to start something, make sure you really get good at it, work at it, practice it, enjoy it. And that other one is, there is no such thing. If you think of something you want to do, there is no such thing as can't. You know, when I told my wife I wanted to get on the Oprah show, get real age into pop culture because I found a way of motivating people to healthy, she was saying, she didn't say you're not going to be able to do it. She didn't say you can't do it. She just said, well, if it doesn't work out, Mike, just remember a day job. But in fact, that impossible dream, for a doc to start a website and it to become a popular website, or for us to change health, those are all, quote, impossible dreams, but everything is possible. And what my dad did is he practiced with us. So when I wanted to be, play second base, a little league team, it's crazy things like that, I must have fielded 4 million balls that he threw me grounders, but having him have the patience to throw me 4 million grounders. When my son wanted to play soccer, I played goalie for infinite hours, and he made All-State in Illinois and as a soccer player. And I think I had a little bit to do with it.
Absolutely.
But it is remembering those 2 words, can't doesn't exist, and if you're going to do something, do it well.